Hi everyone, it's Malik here from Combat Overload. Delighted today to be joined by Modestas Bukauskas, former Cage Warriors light heavyweight champion, soon to be UFC debutant. First of all, thanks for joining us, and how are things going on your end?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Really well. Training's gone absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, with the whole lockdown situation going on, I understand it's been quite hard for a lot of other fighters to get the appropriate training. But to be honest, it's as if I'd never stopped really training. So when I got the call that I was going to get my fight rebooked, then obviously I was already in shape, already ready to go anyway. So everything's been going great.
Nice one. Yes, obviously, as you mentioned, we are sort of under the lockdown situation here in the UK. So, what sort of things have you had to adapt in your training style since the lockdown started in March?
Well, it was just doing more things that I really didn't get a chance to do. I mean, listen, it's not often that I get to go on runs, for example. It's not often that I go and get to do drills, for example, and stuff like that. Like actually drill specific moves that I've done previously. Whereas, in classes you may go over some stuff, but then you keep sort of building on top of that. So yeah, like realistically, everything just went as normal. I mean, listen, my dad is my main coach and he lives with me, so he does my strength and conditioning, he does my pad work, he does my game planning, and obviously we kept on doing the same like we've done then, except we just added more drilling and a bit more, cardio work on the bike and on the running and stuff like that. And now they're allowing combat sports athletes in small numbers to train together. So I've been able to get training partners down to help me. So like I say, I mean, I'm training with the best guys in each aspect. So obviously I feel very well prepared.
Nice. So obviously your career's been going really well lately, on a six-fight winning streak. Obviously a Cage Warriors light heavyweight champion. But in terms of just sort of comparisons and where your career's heading, how does it feel now to be able to call yourself a UFC fighter?
It felt like the natural progression. I have to admit when I first won the Cage Warriors title, you know, I'd, it was something that I've been working towards to get finally recognised as one of the top fighters in Europe and stuff like that. Already when I won the fight, obviously I'd visualised success and stuff like that, but when it like was there, right, like sitting in front of your face, was quite a really cool, like crazy sort of moment. It was like really like put me back. So and then afterwards, like even like it just felt sort of surreal. So you know when I'd won the title, I already knew that there'll be eyes on me from that point, anyways. And then, shortly after, I'd be going and progressing towards the UFC. It's always been my goal. I always knew that I'll get there at some point. I had a couple of bumps on the road and stuff like that, but I'm sure many fighters have that. I think you have to be able to deal through that adversity and show some character to push through it to get to the next level. But already when I won the title, and even at the beginning of the year, already last year, I had 3 wins. The year before that, sorry, I had 3 wins in a row. And then I was like, listen, I asked Ian Dean and the matchmaker Cade was like, I need a step up in competition. I'm ready. Like, give it to me. And then once they gave it to me, that's when I stepped up my own game to then go and defeat my opponents, which were all very highly skilled. So as soon as I've beaten Nasilia and defended my title, I'm like, what else are they gonna have for me? I feel like I need to now have that step up to go to the UFC and to go and prove myself, because I know if I show all of my capabilities, which I haven't done yet, I know I can be a very entertaining fighter and put a stamp on the light heavyweight division. So like I say, obviously when I first got the call, early in the morning, going to take a piss pretty much, just literally not thinking of anything. You see a missed calls by your manager, and then calls and tells you how do you feel about fighting in the UFC. I mean, it was mad because all I just go back to all the times where I was like literally at my lowest point and where I'd lost 2 in a row, and I'd lost a lot of things, lost sponsors, lost relationships, injured leg, this that, So there's a lot of things that was sort of really bad, and to come from that, it just sort of makes me flash back to those times where things were terrible, but then my dad and like my family, they're always there telling me like Modestas, you're going to be a champion. You just need to work through it. I know there's a lot of potential in you. You just got to keep going. And then even through the dark times, I listened to them. I kept training. I kept believing, and then eventually it happened. So I always knew it was going to happen, but when it finally did hit, it was obviously like you're a bit starstruck. You're like, bloody hell, like this is real now. It's almost have to like slap your face to sort of tell you stuff that is real, you know.
Yeah, nice. So the one thing I want to touch on, which is obviously when the UFC go about renting an island, it's probably going to get people talking quite a bit. So as there's been a lot of talk on the Fight Island stuff, what are your thoughts on actually fighting on the island and also fighting in an arena that's going to have no fans in? Because I imagine that's going to be a quite a weird experience.
I really can't wait. I mean, listen, what better debut could you have fighting on Yas Island in Abu Dhabi? It's like you get to go to a different country and different environment, a much hotter, warmer climate one, which I would much prefer to be in, even though London's not been too bad. But like it's amazing. Like now I get to show myself on the international stage. It's not just now you're fighting on a regional promotion or you're fighting in London. Now you're fighting in another country. I mean, I've only had the taste of that once before when I fought in Sweden, but other than that, like it's always been London, London, London. So now getting to fight outside of it, like I said, on infrastructure that's been built by the UFC and stuff like that, for Dana to continue doing events, like he's really showed innovation and perseverance to keep it going through these hard times. Well, no one else can. He's the only guy doing it. He's losing money and he's still doing it. So you've got to give massive props to have a boss like that. Obviously, to think like that is absolutely amazing. I mean, I was supposed to fight in San Diego, so obviously I wanted to get myself out to the American market, which would have been amazing. Unfortunately, obviously that fell through because of coronavirus. But yeah, I mean, listen, what better place to be replaced with than Abu Dhabi, and having it dubbed the Fight Island. Like all the big media outlets, are talking about it, and everyone's getting their interest about it. So really, this is my time to really put on a performance and get myself out there and noticed, because there is just so many eyes on it.
Yeah, so like you say, it's your second. So this is your second fight outside the UK, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So with it obviously being in Abu Dhabi, like how's that process going to go for you in terms of like when are you planning on flying out, and especially now because it's weird because I guess the UFC are flying you out there if I'm not wrong. So how's that process going to go, and what timeline are you looking at for flying out?
Well, the UFC plans it specifically themselves. I think you can ask to go a little bit earlier, but they like to run a very tight ship, obviously. So I'll be getting in there about the 11th of July, and then yeah, literally 4 days later I'll be fighting. So I think I get there on the Saturday, and then the fight's on the Wednesday. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's just like I say, it's just an amazing experience. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what it's going to be like, going on planes when probably there's going to be no one on, not that many people on the flight and stuff like that. And in an arena with no people, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll get tunnel vision when I go into the cage, anyways. I mean, listen, you see your friends and family and stuff like that, they're cheering, but you're not concentrating on that. As much as I love the support, and it's absolutely amazing to have so many people come out there and watch you. You don't really pay attention. You might give someone a little handshake here and there, but you're more just worried about what you have to do. Literally, the cage is all I see. So I know that really when I go into an arena like that, but there's still going to be like like the events coordinators, and there's going to be like the commentators and stuff like that, people around and this and that. Mate, it's almost like you're going back to the days I remember I sparred in Brazil, where you just had a couple of the teammates standing around the cage, and you're just in there, going for blow with another guy. So it's going to be exactly the same. I'm glad I've been put into that situation before, so that really it'll feel like nothing, and it's good because you'll definitely be able to hear the venom on your shots. So I mean, listen, with a crowd, you probably won't be able to recognize it as much as when you can hear it like echoing out in the arena. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I can imagine it'll be an absolutely amazing experience.
Yeah, so you alluded to a bit earlier about the fight was originally booked for UFC San Diego, and it's now been rescheduled. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on, because the reason I asked this question as well about how the process came about getting rebooked is because I remember I saw an interview with Justin Gaethje where his fight fell through with Tony Ferguson, and he said he went on a little bit of a binge of eating, and then he got the call again to fight. And I wondered just sort of how that process went for you, and did you ever sort of slightly take your foot off the gas when you got the call that it was cancelled?
Not at all. I knew that with this whole pandemic situation, I keep in very close contact with my manager, Jason House, amazing manager. and he always keeps me motivated and stuff like that. Obviously, there's times when you're thinking, oh well, I'm training my butt off every single day, but I'm glad I did because I'm just thinking every single day, how can I get better? How can I make myself even more dangerous for when I go in there? And then working on the cardio and stuff like that. I mean, mate, my gas tank now I feel is completely impenetrable. The way when I go into training now is you know you can see a massive difference. I can throw more volume and I don't have to worry about, oh gosh, am I going to get tired defending this takedown or this or that? I can just keep going. So whenever they announce the fight, obviously there's the initial excitement. I'm fighting May 16th, blah blah blah. I think something that kept me sort of grounded was even the fact that they didn't announce it yet because they didn't know there was uncertainty of the coronavirus. So you know it kept me thinking, okay, well I've got to keep training. And then you know I think another big motivating factor was when Dana White did a conference call with all the fighters and he explained to us that you know the guys will get, you know, the ones who are supposed to be booked at a certain point, they will get rebooked the earliest. So for me, it was good. And listen, I just need my foot in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, then you can make some noise. I know, you know, some fighters have got to fight already 2 times this year from the UFC, but again, because you know they're ready, they're able, they've got no injuries and this and that. So, you know, I just needed my foot in the door to now make a statement and then have another, you know, go and try and get a quick turnaround. I mean, listen, I've got a very tough and dangerous opponent. I'm training my butt off, getting prepared for this guy. I feel he is dangerous in a lot of areas, and I'm going to make sure I'm ready for whatever he throws at me. But because I have confidence in my own abilities, you know, I'm going to go out and put on show. So, yeah, like I say, I'm always training though. I'm always training. I never stop. Like a lot of fighters take time off and this and that. Maybe it'll get to a point in my career where I might focus on other things, but right now I have nothing else to focus on other than being the best fighter that I can possibly be. And even the thought of these guys could be better in this area or they might be a little bit more here or there, it just makes me think I need to be prepared for this. If I'm not prepared for this, I'm not going to do well. I'm not looking just to be in the, you know, UFC and, oh yeah, I'm a veteran. Nah, I'm looking to try and take the title and, you know, go and fight these top 15, top 10 guys and win the title. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't want that. So obviously I'm trying to improve as much as I can every day. So really nothing steps off the gas pedal. I've literally just been going straight full throttle all the way until this fight got announced.
Nice. So you touched on a bit there, and just to say that you will be taking on Vinicius Moreira. So from the outside looking in at this matchup, it on paper it looks like a very much like a striker versus grappler, that classic matchup. But obviously, with you being on the inside and in training camp, are you having that same sort of thought approach, or is it just this is an MMA fight? I've got to be ready for everything.
I mean, listen, you've got to be ready for everything because, again, like you said, it's an MMA fight. They could come up with a completely different strategy, or they do something completely different and completely throw you off. So that's why you know sometimes you can't really heavily rely. But at the same time, they can work on it as much as they want, but they'll always come back to what they do best. Like with Hamlet. You know, I know he worked extensively on his striking and stuff like that, but what did he come back to? His wrestling. So I know that in the fight, it will probably end up, you know, going towards a grappling exchange if the striking exchanges don't go well for him. So, you know, we're working specifically to stop everything, but at the end of the day, you've got to be ready for everything. So I'm making sure all areas of my game are ready to go. But yes, obviously we're going to be having the focus that he's going to want to grapple me, but from me wanting to land my more dangerous and vicious strikes, I think it's going to bring the best out of me. So, like I say, I'm ready to take on the best of what he's got for me.
Nice. So, with the sort of looking at not trying to look past this fight at all too much, but do you see a sort of progression of certain guys that you want to fight? And you don't have to name names, obviously, but do you see that, or is it just like I'm ready to take on whoever, get this guy out of the way, get that guy out of the way, and just move up to the top?
Yeah. I take fight by fight. Every fight has the highest level of importance. I never look too far ahead. Obviously, you have certain goals. Like, you know, you want to fight a guy, you want to get to the top 15 at a certain point. You know, like within the next year, I want to try and get to the top 15, top 20. You know, then you want to work your way to the top 10 and stuff like that. So, you know, and there are going to be considerable names that are going to be out there that you're going to have to beat to get yourself to the top. And of course, as the road goes, after the fights get finished, and I end up being victorious. That's what I'll do. I'll end up calling out the names that I feel will progress me to the next level, as again as any fighter should do. But I never look past no one. I've got a dangerous opponent in front of me. I'm doing everything I can to go and smash it. So, and the thing is, by preparing extensively to stop this opponent, it's making me more dangerous from other opponents. So, every fight, every opponent that I prepare for makes me better in that particular field and better overall as a fighter, as an athlete. So, like I say, I just take it on day by day and fight by fight as it comes.
Nice. So, just before we wrap up, then, I just wanted to give you sort of the floor yourself. Is there anything you'd like to say? Any messages for fans or any people you want to thank out there?
There's almost too many people I want to thank out there. Honestly, I've had so much support from so many amazing people. I'm just gonna try and run through it as quick as I can, but I've got to say thank you, obviously, to my dad. That's the biggest, one of the biggest inspirations, and the person that helped me get out through all the hard times. And he's always pushing me, and he's always guiding me in the right direction. I think, there's not often that you have a father and son team as strong as ours. So I give him a lot of credit to get me to where I am today. Almost feel like he's living vicariously through me, and I love that. I've got to thank, obviously, everyone down at BST. You've got to thank Danny Batten, Raymond, all my training partners, all the Lucases. They know who they are. I've got to thank Miracle BJJ. Ed Ingermells is helping me out quite a lot. Dan Strauss as well. I've got to thank everyone at Legion Wrestling. I've got to also thank Joe, because he's been one guy that's been helping me again quite a lot with my wrestling. Especially with lockdown, it's been way more difficult to do so. So he's been helping me out a lot. I've got to thank Distinct Physiotherapy, a massive one, because listen, to come from an injury 3 weeks out and then go and still fight and win a title couldn't have been done without her. So I've got to give Leanne a massive shout out to. Big shout out, obviously, to Iridium Sports Agency, because without them, this would not be happening. I would not be in the UFC, and I would not be having a fight in quick succession after having it, having it cancelled. So, everyone in the team, everyone helping with the marketing and stuff like that, it's absolutely amazing. So I've got to thank them. I've got to thank Denison Sutherland as well, always helping me. He's going to be another man in my corner that you're going to see walking to the UFC octagon. So, and he's like a real, pure, family guy. Also Paul Stain as well, helping me a lot. Curtis, like I say, and there's a lot of sponsors there, mainly on my Instagram page. But listen, anyone who's helped me out, who's given me the opportunity to go out and achieve my dream and achieve my goal, there are so many people, and I will thank all of you, each of you personally. But listen, now is the time that we're going to go and do this all together. We're all going to rise to the top, and then we're all going to be partying out in Vegas together on the yachts and doing big things out here. So thank you to everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time, Modestas. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.